Welcome to Nuanced Beauty, because the world is nuanced and we think that's beautiful.
La 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 la.
La 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 la.
Okay, give me some harmony. Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hi guys, so this is round 2 of recording because we're screwed up. We're so professional. I had the mic set, everything. They're turned on, all the things, but then the sound quality was terrible, and I realized it's because we recorded it, but it used the speaker to the laptop to record us, and I'm looking at it, and it's like not showing me two different inputs.
All of these wires all over the table. We have a sound box with dials and all this, and
everything's set, and it sounded good in my headset.
Recording on the laptop microphone.
Yeah, and the laptop, like I wasn't paying that close attention to realize, like, oh my gosh, it's recording a mono track, and then of course when I started to play it back, I was like, oh, this is
frankly
bad.
I'm loud enough that you can still hear me.
But on the plus side, this is a pretty short episode.
Yeah, because really just revisiting a previous episode 48, where we talk about yeses and nos, and how do you manage your schedule with all the things that we're asked to do, and how do you cope with having to say no, or can you? Because in that episode we talked about how
for some people they're maybe inclined to say yes for people pleasing, or because they're just like legitimately capable of doing the thing.
Yes, if you ask, hey, can you do this? Well, I can. Mm-hmm. And so like I'll just
keep going.
Grit.
I'll do everything.
Yeah.
And so that is what we are faced with, the predicament of kind of looking at our schedule, looking at all the things. And in the past 2-ish months, I walked up to Bill and I said, something's got to give. And I ran through the things that we're doing.
Leanne Rimes song pops in my head every time.
How do I live without you?
No, something's got to give.
She has the only Leanne Rimes song I think of is "How Do I Live Without You." So I'm like, how do you? It
was
give
very
up
popular in the early 2000s. Called something. Great song. Look it up.
Okay, I'll have to look it up after. You want to burst in a sing song since we started with sing song? No, don't do it. Okay, so yeah, something has to give, and we're running through the list of all the things going on, and of course, a lot of things are taking the summer off. So I have like a bit of a break from several things. Mm-hmm. That said, I still got a lot on my plate, right, Bill? Yeah,
we just a couple of weeks ago put out an episode on this microgreens business that we started, which we kind of started as a lark, but then took very seriously. And because we're getting into markets, but still a lot of sales are happening through your text string. Yeah. It's been an enormous amount of work for you, and also because of your tendency to ruminate.
You mean to passionately pursue everything that I do?
Yeah, to ruminate. It has been taking an enormous amount of your time.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm just in my head like dum growing things.
Yeah, totally. And so yeah, the microgreens biz has been very fun and very busy, and kids have their things. I mean, they're not that much of a time sink. They're just like always there. So it's a permanent. It's like permanent attachment.
Having a heavy backpack on all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not necessarily in a way of you doing things. It just makes everything a little bit harder. For a while there, you had not one but 2 different Bible studies going.
Yeah, and they're both. Well, one's taking the summer off. Yeah, and and then
which are great and life-giving and everything, but that's homework that you're doing.
Well, and then like all the friendships that we've made. So like we've been here approaching 2.5 years now. And I really want to continue to be intentional and pour into the people who are around me, who I'm creating these deeper roots with. And so that's an important thing. And I mean, when we kind of look back at like where we were at when we were moving here, right? Like I'm going to have so much time on my hands, right, Bill?
Yeah. Well, this was the first time that you took an extended amount of time off of work, with the exception of like right after Zeke was born, I guess. And even then you were working part-time.
Yeah.
And so I don't think even you are unaware enough to say something like I'm going to have so much time, but you definitely like you're kind of facing this gaping chasm of what you're going to do with your life. And
like what is it going to look like? What this is uncharted territory. I'm going to not be at a physical office location for 40 to 50 to 60 hours a week. So now what's this going to look like?
Yeah. What am I going to do? What am I going to produce? Like you need to be productive. And so you came up with this podcast.
Yeah. Like, being a listener for 6-ish years before this podcast, I enjoy podcasts. I probably spend a couple hours a week having them on while driving in the background or whatever. So it was kind of this like
if you
inspiration.
know Christina, she has sent you a podcast or two.
Yeah, I have, and it's okay if you don't listen to them. But I also I sent them to people intentionally, but I also totally understand. It's like there's no harm done. It's just like, oh, this was a super interesting fact, and this person enjoys this topic, so they might enjoy the facts that come out of this thing or the encouragement or whatever. But so that said, we move here. I don't have a job.
You don't have a friend group.
I don't have a friend group, and I really like podcasts. So maybe this is an avenue that I could pour into because this is something that I really enjoy listening to. So I could totally do this. So first in the summer of 22, it was going to be Engage Well Today. That was my initial thought. I had a couple of drawings done by my friend of a family member, and it didn't quite sit. And then as a couple months
Engage Well Today sounds like a public access morning television show.
There you go. Yeah, because I was trying to get the Engage Well, but then also like today, like currently or such. And but so yeah, it just didn't sit right. And then the word nuance just really like stood out at the forefront as like significant to think through the nuance. And I still stand by the first couple episodes, especially episode 1 and the first like 8 or 9 shows. You have to listen to like maybe on double speed because I was talking very slow, but it's still pertinent. So nuance really stood out to me, and that birthed the name of the podcast and started the recordings. And then Bill joined along episode 8 or so and became a co-host, and having that conversational aspect makes it a lot nicer to listen to and more entertaining, and the dialogue.
Thank you.
And then, we branched into interviews, and I really enjoy the interviews too, because as much as like Bill and I can share our varying perspectives, we are still married and we still like look out for the best of each other. So from the outside looking in, our perspectives are probably more similar than we realize. But when you're inside the home with each other, a subtle difference in how you put the toilet seat up, right? It's a funny gag joke that people like make about like the toilet seat.
I'm good about that one.
Yeah, no, you are.
I actually got made fun of when I was sailing because it'd be all men on the ship, and I would still put the toilet seat down.
They're like, who put the toilet seat down?
She's got you trained, doesn't she?
Yeah, but like those weird little things that are nuances, actually seem much greater chasms when you're in close proximity to someone, right?
Exactly. The one spot in the field of white is going to stand out way more than something that's just a mess or an aggregate. So
yeah.
So that said, we think we're interesting, but then someone else like, you guys just agreed on everything. I'm like, oh, did we? I feel like we had
I thought we have varying perspectives.
No, we're not that interesting. So it's great having interviews of people who had things to say and things to share about the cool things they were doing.
Yeah.
But so you started this podcast with that conception of I need something to fill my days.
I need an outlet.
And then all sorts of other things came along.
And
to
lots
fill your
of things
days.
Started to fill our days.
We found a church, and we found a church community, and we've developed those friendships.
And develops friendships in the neighborhood, and just through all the people that I've met here.
When you're in your 30s, becomes work to actually cultivate friendships, and I don't do that. I just kind of go where I'm told. But Christina has, and this has been a running joke for me, is that we can make a Nuanced Beauty drinking game where you have to take a drink every time I talk about Christina's remarkable abilities. She has a remarkable ability to cultivate friendship and
intentionally pursue people,
go first, and maintain a correspondence.
Yeah.
I have friends I haven't talked to in years.
Yeah, but they're still your friends. It's not like you ended on bad accord.
No, but you do the work.
Do the work, yeah.
And it is work. It's an enormous amount of work. And then, of course, we have the microgreens business, which is also taking place largely through your text messaging. So
yeah, well, and it's expanding, but there's just a lot of avenues that are taking up time, and this show has been fun, and we're actually doing quite well. So we have like 62 followers now, and in the past 6-ish months, I would say it went from 25 to 62. So that's more than doubled the number of followers. And then the shows used to get listened to maybe a dozen times, and now they're listened to close to 24 times. And so, like, it's not like we have negative feedback here, or like the show is dwindling.
Oh, it's been dozens more people than I ever expected to listen to this.
Yeah. You thought like 2 people, a family, close friend.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it. Yeah. And so there's like an interest, and I think we're producing good stuff. So this is like, how did you say it? Like, this is not really a goodbye. This is more a see you later.
Well, yeah, it's not a period at the end of this sentence. This is an ellipsis.
Yeah.
It's a to be continued. And maybe in the fall, moving to the Southeast, one of the things that stood out to us most glaringly is how seriously people take their summer breaks.
Yeah, you're right.
We didn't take...
That's a thing here.
Spring break wasn't a thing on the West Coast. Summer break wasn't a thing on the West Coast. You were just miserable 12 months a year.
Yeah, or you just continued. Life continued. Like, people might take a vacation here and there, but it wasn't like
the Seattle
summertime vacation.
They just kept marching.
Yeah.
But here in the Southeast, we're like...
They take a seasonal approach to living in a way that we are less inclined. But here you go. We're now Southeasterners, Southern Easterners.
We have been inculcated with the Southeast culture, and now we suddenly have this drive of like, we need to stop doing things in the summer.
We need to, take the summer off.
Yeah. And so Christina still has a list of people she'd love to interview just to hear about the things that they have to say, and so she might drop those through the summer a little bit.
Yeah,
don't unfollow the podcast. Like, we'll be back
doing
in
the
some
recordings.
capacity.
I think I might do some recordings, but keep them in the queue and not drop them until the fall. So I may have a little bit of a queue, and so it doesn't feel as pressure, time sensitive to keep the shows rolling. But I mean, this is episode 77.
Yeah,
77 episodes, guys.
That's amazing.
And I feel like maybe the last thing that I'd really like to share with you guys is maybe a challenge to, if you're enjoying what you're listening to, go back, look at the old titles, look at the old show notes, and be like, this sounds like an interesting thing. I'll put this on it for the next half hour while I'm cleaning or driving in the car.
Yeah, a lot of folks we've talked to said that they will listen sometimes, but they can't keep up with the weekly tempo, and that's fine. These aren't topical podcast that you need to listen to that week. We're just talking about stuff.
Yeah, they're not time sensitive.
The minutia of everyday life that does not really change. So by all means, go back and listen to them. We just went back and listened to episode 48 before we did this podcast, and I was so angry. I was so angry during that podcast.
Yeah, he was. But it was all about yeses and nos, and ultimately where we're bringing this up
to say no. So you made me record that podcast.
Yeah, but now look at me. I'm saying no to the recording for the summer. So there's progress. There is progress.
We finally reached the limit where we can't continue to say, we'll just work harder. And this is just gonna have to be set down for a minute.
Yeah, and so I hope that you keep following the show, that you stand by and maybe tune into the older episodes, and reach out, like drop me a line if you listen to something and you're like, I loved that one episode, or I got something out of that episode, just as like a way.
That husband of yours is so funny and charming. Just whatever kind of feedback,
whatever comes to mind.
Comes naturally to mind.
Drop us some feedback so that we can feel your love and encouragement over the summer to motivate us to get our booties back here recording more episodes. I was gonna say butts, but then I was like, is booties more okay than butts, or should I just say
said both? So.
I said both. Hopefully your toddler's not listening to this.
Oh yeah, they'll be hearing.
They'll be like, that's my word.
Booty.
But yeah. So with that, I hope you guys have a lovely summer. I hope you tune into shows you missed and reach out and give me your recommendations if you got show ideas that we should do in the fall too. Until then, I hope you are able to stay nuanced in your approach to life and having great conversations with folks and growing with them. So we will catch you in the fall. Bye, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and in the spirit of nuance, I hope you found something that you could agree with and you could disagree with, and still choose to lean in. Give us a follow, rating, and review, and consider sharing this episode with a friend to continue the dialogue and help us grow. Until next time.